Imagine for a moment, you're in the most excruciating pain of your life. Your body is screaming, every nerve is on fire, and you feel like you can't take another second. And then, you simply leave. You abandon your physical form entirely and float away to a place of pure light and peace. Sounds impossible? Well, that's exactly what happened to a woman during a documented regression therapy session. What she discovered will completely shatter everything you believe about pain, suffering, and the true nature of human consciousness. This is The Other Sight, and what you're about to discover in the next 25 minutes could transform how you handle every difficult moment in your life forever, and reveal a truth about the soul's relationship with suffering that will leave you absolutely amazed. Because what she found wasn't just an escape from pain, it was a revelation about why we suffer in the first place. Her testimony has changed my entire understanding of what it means to be human. This isn't just another past life regression story. This is a window into consciousness itself, the purpose of pain, and why everything we've been taught about strength and weakness might be completely backwards. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into one of the most profound cases ever documented, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at suffering, growth, or your own spiritual journey the same way again. But before we begin, I need to warn you. What you're about to hear will challenge some of your deepest beliefs about life, death, and the nature of reality itself. If you're not ready to have your worldview completely transformed, you might want to stop watching now. But if you're ready to discover truths that most people never get to witness, then stay with me. Before I reveal what this woman's soul discovered when it refused to feel pain, I need to give you the context of this incredible case, and more importantly, why it matters so much to every single person watching this. For over 4 decades, regression therapists have documented thousands of cases where people, under deep hypnosis, have relived traumatic experiences from past lives. But this particular case stands out because of one shocking detail: the moment a soul made the ultimate choice between enduring human suffering and abandoning the physical experience entirely. Now, I want to be completely transparent with you. This case comes from documented regression therapy sessions conducted by professional therapists using established protocols. I'm sharing my interpretation of what this means for all of us. This isn't medical advice. It's a philosophical and spiritual exploration of consciousness based on documented testimony. What makes this case so extraordinary is the level of detail and the profound insights that emerged. The woman wasn't just recalling memories, she was experiencing them with such intensity that her physical body was responding as if the events were happening in real time. This woman was reliving what appeared to be a past life where she was in labor, giving birth at home. But this wasn't a typical birth experience. The pain was overwhelming, unbearable, beyond anything she could endure. This wasn't just physical pain. This was the ultimate test of human endurance, bringing life into the world through the most primal, intense experience a body can have. The therapist could see her body responding as if she was actually giving birth right there in the session. Her breathing became labored. Her movements mimicked the physical reality of childbirth, her face contorted with pain. This is what we call somatic memory, when the soul remembers trauma so vividly that the body relives it completely. But what happened next defied everything we think we know about strength, endurance, and the human spirit. It challenged every assumption about what it means to be brave, what it means to be weak, and what it means to be human. When the therapist moved her forward in time, expecting to hear about the joy of holding her newborn baby, she said something that sent chills through everyone in the room. "No, I had a difficult time. It just wouldn't come. I was worn out, so I just left my body." Left her body. Think about that for a moment. In the most crucial moment of human experience, the moment of bringing new life into existence, her soul chose to escape rather than endure the pain. But this case reveals something far beyond just a birth experience. It's a window into the very nature of consciousness, free will, and what happens when we refuse to feel what life is asking us to feel. It's about the choices we make every single day when faced with difficulty and the consequences of those choices on our spiritual evolution. So what exactly happened when her soul abandoned her body? And more importantly, what can we learn from her experience that applies to every moment of suffering in our own lives? When asked if she could see her body, her response was immediate and revealing. Yes, everybody's upset. She was looking down at her own body, watching the chaos and distress of everyone around her as they realized something had gone terribly wrong. But her tone wasn't panicked or distressed. It was calm, almost detached, as if she was watching a movie rather than witnessing her own death. When asked what she was going to do now, she said, "I think I'm going to rest. I've got to come back eventually, but I'm going to stay here a while. I'm in the light, it's restful." She wasn't confused or disoriented. She knew exactly where she was and what had happened. She had made a conscious choice to leave her physical form, and she was completely at peace with that decision. There was no fear, no regret, no panic, just a sense of relief and rest. But her words, "I've got to come back eventually," reveal something that completely revolutionizes how we think about pain and spiritual growth. She wasn't free. Even in this place of light and rest, she understood that her escape was temporary. She had unfinished business. When asked how she knew she had to come back, her answer revealed the devastating truth about what happens when a soul refuses to feel pain. "I was weak. I should have been able to tolerate the pain. I must learn to better withstand it. I could have stayed if I hadn't been so weak." Weak. She called herself weak for not being able to endure the pain of childbirth. But from the perspective of her soul, looking down from this place of pure light and knowledge, she understood something profound that most of us never realize. Avoiding pain doesn't make us strong. It makes us incomplete. "I'm glad I can't remember the pain," she continued. "I know I need to go back and I must become complete, whole. Pain is one thing I must overcome. I must overcome all the pains of the world." Do you hear what she's saying? From the soul's perspective, every time we refuse to feel, every time we escape, every time we numb ourselves or run away from difficult experiences, we're actually preventing our own spiritual evolution. Pain isn't our enemy. Pain is our teacher. And when we refuse to learn from it, we remain forever incomplete, forever having to return to the same lessons until we're willing to face them fully. But here's what really strikes me about her experience. She said, "I could have stayed if I hadn't been so weak." This tells me that the place of light, the place of peace and rest, it's available to all of us. But we can only access it permanently once we've learned to transcend pain rather than escape from it. Think about this in your own life. How many times have you mentally checked out when things got too difficult? How many times have you emotionally abandoned yourself when life became unbearable? How many times have you used substances, distractions, or other people to avoid feeling what you needed to feel? This woman's soul journey shows us that every time we do this, we're making the same choice she made during childbirth. We're choosing temporary relief over permanent growth. We're choosing comfort over completion. But here's where it gets really interesting. She mentioned that she had fear from an illness she had as a child. "I was afraid that this would be as bad, and I gave up." So her inability to endure the pain of childbirth wasn't just about that moment. It was connected to unresolved trauma from earlier in her life. This tells me that our current struggles are often connected to patterns we've carried for years, sometimes lifetimes. From her expanded state of consciousness, she began to reveal the true nature of suffering in a way that will fundamentally change how you approach every challenge in your life. When the therapist asked her about pain from this higher perspective, she said, "Pain is a teaching tool. Sometimes it is used to humble certain people. Sometimes a haughty spirit can be brought down and taught to be more gracious through suffering." Pain is a teaching tool, not a punishment, not a random occurrence, not something that happens to us unfairly, but a deliberate instrument of education designed specifically for our spiritual growth. Think about this for a moment. Every moment of suffering in our lives isn't happening to us. It's happening for us. It's curriculum specifically designed for our consciousness to learn something it couldn't learn any other way. But then she said something even more profound. It may teach them that they must eventually learn to rise above the pain, and then they can deal with it. Sometimes just understanding pain and why we have it lessens the pain. Here's what strikes me as absolutely mind-blowing about this insight. There's a difference between avoiding pain and transcending it. There's a difference between running from suffering and rising above it. When we refuse to feel pain entirely, like this woman did during childbirth, we miss the lesson completely. We remain incomplete. But when we understand the purpose of pain, when we see it as a teacher rather than an enemy, something magical happens. The pain itself begins to lose its power over us. She explained it this way. They become too self-centered. They need to rise above their own interests and what they're feeling at the moment to a more spiritual level, and then they can deal with it. Most of our suffering comes not from the pain itself, but from our resistance to it, our self-centered focus on it, our inability to see the bigger picture of what it's trying to teach us. When we're in pain, we become completely absorbed in our own experience. We lose perspective. We forget that we are more than our temporary physical sensations. We forget that we are consciousness itself, temporarily experiencing limitation. But here's the part that really got to me. She revealed that some people actually choose pain as a shelter. Now, some people, they bring the pain on because it's a shelter. They may have the pain as an excuse or as an out, and that's the purpose. It varies with the individual. Think about that. Some souls choose pain not as growth, but as an excuse to avoid growth. Pain becomes their comfort zone, their reason not to try, not to risk, not to become more than they are. I need you to be brutally honest with yourself right now. Are there areas in your life where you're using pain as an excuse, where suffering has become so familiar that you're actually afraid to let it go, because then you'd have to take responsibility for creating something better? Maybe you stay in toxic relationships because the pain is familiar. Maybe you keep jobs that drain you because struggling financially feels safer than risking success. Maybe you hold on to old wounds because they give you a reason not to trust, not to love, not to be vulnerable. Her soul revealed that there are 3 types of people when it comes to pain. Those who run from it entirely, like she did initially. Those who use it as an excuse to stay stuck. Those who feel it fully and then consciously transcend it. Which one are you? And then she said something that completely transformed my understanding of human potential. What is pain? It cannot touch you if you don't let it. If you admit that you will hurt, you're giving power to pain. Do not give it power. It's unnecessary to feel it. It's all connected to man. Reach into your spirit, your higher mind. It has no hold on you. This isn't about becoming numb. This isn't about denial. Pain only has the power we give it. When we identify completely with our physical experience, pain controls us. But when we remember our true nature as consciousness, as spirit, pain becomes just another experience we're having rather than something we are. She continued, of course, if they want to. They don't always want to. They want the sympathy and self-punishment and all sorts of things. People are funny. Everyone knows how to do these things if they take the time. They must find a way for themselves because they wouldn't believe it if you told them there was an easier way. They have to figure it out on their own. This means you already have everything you need to transcend your pain. You don't need special abilities. You don't need years of therapy. You don't need anyone to save you. The power to rise above suffering is built into the very fabric of consciousness itself, but you have to want it. You have to be willing to give up the secondary benefits of suffering, the sympathy, the excuses, the familiar identity of being someone who struggles. The goal isn't to avoid pain. The goal is to become someone who can feel everything and still choose love, growth, and expansion. Her soul revealed something beautiful about the nature of transcendence. By removing ourselves and concentrating and reaching deep and having patience, we can rise above it. We don't have to wait until we die or leave our bodies to access this transcendent perspective. We can learn to remove ourselves, not by escaping, but by expanding our identity beyond our immediate physical experience. This is what meditation is really about. This is what prayer is really about. This is what any spiritual practice is really about, learning to identify with the consciousness that observes experience rather than the experience itself. When she was asked her about death, she said something that completely transformed how I view every difficult moment in life. Well, when I'm in the body, it feels heavy. It pulls on me. It's just uncomfortable. But when you die, it's a lifting of weight. It's relaxing. People carry all those problems around. And it's like they are carrying around a weight, because they are heavy and laden with all these other things. When you die, it's like tossing them out the window and it feels good. It's a transition. But here's what I realized from this. We don't have to wait until death to experience that lifting of weight. We don't have to wait until we leave our bodies to toss our problems out the window. Every moment of conscious transcendence over pain is a little death, a little release from the heavy, pulling sensation of being trapped by our circumstances. Think about times in your life when you've experienced this. Maybe during meditation, maybe in nature, maybe in moments of deep love or creativity. Suddenly all your problems seem small and manageable. You feel light, free, connected to something bigger than yourself. That's not an accident. That's you remembering your true nature as consciousness itself. They fear the unknown. They must just have faith and just trust. The same is true for pain, isn't it? We fear the unknown territory of actually feeling our emotions fully. We fear what might happen if we stop running, stop numbing, stop escaping. But when we finally face our pain with faith and trust, when we stop giving it power over our choices, something miraculous happens. We discover that we are so much bigger than anything that could ever happen to our temporary physical form. When asked what happens when somebody dies, she painted a picture that transforms everything. You just rise up and leave it. You go up here in the light. What do you do when you're there? Perfect all things. Perfect all things. Even in death, even in the ultimate release from physical limitation, consciousness is still growing, still learning, still perfecting itself. Where do you go if you have to go away from the light? Back to Earth. This tells me that our time here on Earth isn't random. It's not punishment, it's school. It's where consciousness comes to perfect itself through the experience of limitation, through the contrast of pain and pleasure, through the challenge of remembering its true nature while wearing a physical form. When asked if it was unusual for us to speak to her through time like this, her answer revealed something profound about the nature of reality itself. But time has no meaning. On this frame there is no time. All time is one. Your pain doesn't have to define your future. The moment you choose to transcend rather than escape, you step outside of linear time. You step into a space where healing isn't a process, it's a choice. I find that it disturbs you more than it does I. Even the idea of communicating across time and space didn't disturb her. From the perspective of expanded consciousness, everything is possible, everything is connected, everything is one. This tells me that the limitations we experience, the sense of being trapped in time, trapped in our circumstances, trapped by our past, these are all illusions created by our identification with our physical experience. Right now, I want you to think about one area of pain in your life that you've been either avoiding or using as an excuse. What would happen if you chose to feel it fully, acknowledge its lesson, and then consciously decide to rise above it? What would your life look like if you stopped giving that pain power over your choices? What if you could access that same perspective this woman had from the light? What if you could see your current struggles as temporary experiences rather than permanent identities? The truth is, you can. You don't have to wait until you die to access this expanded perspective. You can begin to practice it right now in this moment with whatever you're facing. So what can we learn from this woman's soul journey that will amaze you? Every time we refuse to feel pain, we're actually refusing to grow. Every time we escape from difficulty, we're escaping from our own evolution. Pain isn't happening to us. It's happening for us. It's consciousness exploring what it's like to temporarily forget its unlimited nature so that it can have the joy of remembering. We are not victims of our circumstances. We are consciousness itself, temporarily playing the role of limited human beings for the purpose of expansion and growth. But most importantly, the peace, intelligence, and freedom this woman felt in the light isn't something we have to wait for. It's what we are right now underneath all the physical and mental noise. Her journey showed me that we have a choice in every moment of pain. We can escape it. We can use it as an excuse, or we can feel it fully and choose to transcend it. The difference between these choices isn't just about how we handle one difficult moment. It's about whether we become complete, whole human beings or remain forever incomplete, forever running, forever making excuses. As this woman's session came to an end, she had to make the choice to return to her body, to complete what she had started. And she did. Because she finally understood that running from pain wasn't protecting her. It was preventing her from becoming who she was meant to be. Here's what I want you to do right now. Think about the biggest challenge you're facing in your life. Instead of asking, how can I avoid this pain, or why is this happening to me? I want you to ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? How can I feel this fully and then choose to rise above it? Because when you make that choice, when you stop refusing to feel pain and start choosing to transcend it, you don't just solve one problem. You become someone who can handle anything life throws at you. You become complete. You become whole. You become unstoppable. The next time life hurts, remember this woman's soul looking down from the light, understanding that pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Preparation for becoming everything you're capable of being. Don't refuse to feel. Choose to transcend. Remember what she learned. Everyone knows how to do these things if they take the time. You already have everything you need. The power is already within you. The only question is whether you're ready to use it. The question isn't whether you're strong enough. The question is, are you ready to stop running and start becoming who you really are? Now I want to hear from you. Has this case changed how you think about pain and suffering? About your current challenges? About your own spiritual growth? Share your thoughts in the comments below because your insights might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if this understanding has shifted something in you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the most profound truths are also the most practical. Subscribe for more explorations of consciousness, pain, and the true nature of reality. Because if this case has taught me anything, it's that everything we think we know about suffering and strength might just be the beginning of a much bigger, much more amazing story about what it means to be human. Until next time, remember, you are consciousness itself, temporarily experiencing limitation for the purpose of expansion. And that's something worth embracing, not escaping. The woman in this case eventually learned to transcend her pain rather than escape from it. She became complete, she became whole, and so can you.